wherever you are in the world. So you'll have to forgive me because right now I am getting over a little bit of a bad cold from started on Friday evening. Actually, it was a little bit of perfect timing, although it did screw up a little bit of my schedule. But Friday evening into sorry, not Friday evening, Sunday evening into Monday night and Tuesday night. Oh man, and Monday and Tuesday night were like a battle. All right, so definitely like a battle. Really really horrible, and so I am gonna do my best. But I'm feeling actually like 95% better. It's just the 5% that's like a little bit of like weakness, honestly, just a little bit of weakness. But yeah, what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit of just some of the books that I'm reading, and why I'm reading them recently, just so you have I guess like a live snapshot of my mind, what's going on in my mind, and why. Recently, I've been really into and interested in these fundamental questions of truth, right? Uh, how do we determine truth, right? How do we determine truth? How do we determine what is real, right? Ontology and epistemology, right? So these very, very deep questions, and I am convinced that fields such as mathematics, which I'll get into this book, mathematics, deep statistics, like Bayesian reasoning, and so on and so forth, and then of course philosophy. I'll talk about this book in a moment. But some of these books are things that I'm reading for the first time, and some of these books are things that I'm reading for the second or third time, and just rereading. And I find that actually, if you want to master something, sometimes it's good, and let me know if you agree with me, but I really feel this is true. Sometimes if you want to master something, you want to read it more than once. I actually have read certain books more than once, not every book. But certain books, I actually feel that I want to read them more than once, even if I already have notes on them, because I want to go back and see the examples. I want to go back and do the practice. So I'm just going to give you some things that I'm reading for the first time, some things that I'm reading for the second or third time, and why. So to start with, this is Bayesian Statistics the Fun Way. And it actually is fun, right? So if you want to actually learn Bayesian reasoning, like statistical reasoning, this is a certain area of statistical reasoning and probability. Definitely a really great book to dig into. Bayesian Statistics the Fun Way. And let me tell you about Bayesian Statistics. Bayesian Statistics is actually really interesting. So Bayesian Statistics is about, I got my coffee here. Again, bear with me because I'm still getting over this cold. I'm like almost recovered. I'm 95% better, but like the 5%, I just feel weak. I just feel weak. So again, I'm here like just sleeping a lot. I just came up from a nap. So yeah. So I'll probably take another nap after this, but a little bit of lunch and then a nap. But yeah, Bayesian statistics is actually really interesting. Mm, because it takes a different approach to probability and statistics than like kind of traditional statistics. Most statistics that you're taught in school, or that we're taught in school, let's say, is what is called frequentist statistics, and it's based on the idea of a frequentist idea of probability. So probability as what? So fundamentally, probability in most statistics that we're taught is what's called the long run relative frequency distribution, or long run relative frequency interpretation of probability. What the heck does that mean? It means that kind of statistics, that view of what probability is, which again, it is a philosophical difference. What is probability, right? What is probability, right? Uh, Actually, there is no clear-cut answer. There isn't. There are different interpretations. This interpretation of probability, the frequentist interpretation, is let's get a lot of types of events all together. Let's put them all together. Let's collect a big sample of them, and then let's see where it all, where everything falls, right? What is the median? What is the mean? What is the mode? What are basically the parameters that we find in very, very large samples? And so even in a really maybe a strict frequentist interpretation of probability, you'd say, what's the probability of a coin flip? Well, we have to test that. A priori, you can answer that, let's say 50-50, right? But on I think a strict frequentist interpretation, you'd say, well, we got to test it first. We've got to get a lot of samples of coin flips, and then we could tell you, well, it's 50-50. It's 50%. Bayesian reasoning is a little bit different. Bayesian reasoning, so this book is really, really interesting. Probability, Bayesian reasoning takes not a frequentist interpretation of probability, but it actually has what's called a subjective interpretation of probability. I know, isn't there one idea of probability? No, there isn't. There isn't. It's really fascinating, and that's why philosophically it's interesting. Because all of science, all of reality, all of empirical reality, what we observe and what we think to know, is based on this idea of probability, which is why I find this really, really fascinating. So, because if all our whole idea of empirical reality and empirical knowledge is based on probability, right? Then what are we really like? What are we really sure of? What do we really know? It's not necessarily a radical skepticism on my part, but it's a legitimate question, right? Right? What truly is probability? Do we have a truly accurate picture of reality? And Bayesian reasoning kind of works this other way, has this other interpretation, subjective probability. No, it says probability is not based on what most frequently happens, let's say. It's based on what I like have experienced in the past, right? What have I experienced already in the past? And based on my experience in the past, my prior knowledge, my prior experience, what I have to say, what is the most likely explanation for something that has occurred? So, if you want to get a deep dive on how Bayesian reasoning works and then how it trickles up to statistics, because it's a fundamentally different approach to statistics and to knowledge, then you should read this. And it's Bayesian statistics the fun way, purposely, because he uses a lot of really cool examples, fun exercises. So I actually really like this book. So definitely a good reread for me. So and then another reread for me is this one, multi-level structural equation modeling. So this is one that I read a long time ago, but this is something that basically it is about the how can I say this? This is about. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, sorry. That apparently I disconnected for a moment. I don't know what happened. But multi-level structural equation modeling is about it's a certain way of statistical modeling. So for instance, if you want to know for like why is it really interesting? Why is it really interesting? Why is multi-level structural equation modeling interesting? Even though you feel like, even if you feel like, oh, it might be really, really challenging, right? Okay, and it's like maybe way over your head. If I'm a little incoherent, by the way, it's because I'm still getting over this cold, and like I took an Advil, and like I'm just like, I might be a little all over the place, but stay with me. The reason I find this interesting, again, from a philosophical perspective, structural equation modeling, is because traditional statistics. Okay, let's talk about traditional statistics. Traditional statistics will give you information about what's most likely, what is correlated, like associations and things like that. But traditional statistics won't tell you, I won't say anything. It won't tell you a lot about causation, like what is one thing that's causing another thing. Yeah, you can do multivariable analyses and things like that. They will allow you to infer causation. I won't say that. You can do ANOVA and things like that that will allow you to infer causation. But structural equation modeling is really helpful in really mapping these causal paths. What is causing one thing, or potentially, it's not definitive causation. It maps proposed causation, then you add on some tests on top of that to understand better what is causing what. But it's a really fascinating way of mapping causation. It's quite sophisticated, so I really recommend doing a lot of exercises with it, right? Not just trying to understand the theory, but trying to map your own, like, uh, you know, do your own analysis with it to kind of practice it. Why would I ever go this deep into statistics? Well, my background is in value theory. You guys know, who know if you watch my channel. You know my background's in value theory, so I want to fundamentally understand what drives human behavior, like what value systems, how do values affect human behavior. Alias, okay, happy Pride, thank you, have a great day. um, yeah, so how do human values drive behavior, right? It's important, it's important to know that. And so structural equation modeling, statistics doesn't give us that answer. Structural equation modeling does help to give us more of that answer. And so, of course, I'm also interested in it from a fundamental philosophical perspective. How do how do we determine what is causing something, right? What methods do we use? What reasoning do we use? How do we understand the fundamental causes of reality within in reality? David Hume, notably questioned what is causality, right? And said there is no causality. Immanuel Kant had an answer to that, understanding causality as an innate structure of the mind, right? Something that is innate to the mind, right? Welcome, hey, Velimir. Let me know if I pronounced it correctly. Hey, welcome. So these are two books, for those of you who are just signing on, these are two books I just talked about. So this one is a new recent favorite of mine as well, and I just talked about the multi-level structural equation modeling. So people who are interested in knowledge and learning, like self-learning, right? Kurd, hey, welcome, welcome. How you doing? So this next one is a really cool book that I'm really excited to read for the first time. All right, have not read it yet, but it's called The Scientific Image. So by Basque C. Van Frazen. I had to really dig to get this book. Like, it's such an obscure book, right? It's such a, like, but it's a gem. It's a gem based on what I've read about it so far. So, what is this book about? This book is about how does science model reality? Um, and yeah, Kurt, let me answer your question real quick. So, Kurt, my background. So I studied philosophy and history in my undergrad, and I studied neurobiology and behavior in my grad program. And then basically my background is in a mesh of all three of them, a mixture of all three of them, a field called value theory. I'm a published author in value theory. So yeah, value theory is basically the study of. Oh, very cool, very cool. Yeah, awesome. Kurt, I was actually almost gonna be a med student myself. I was almost gonna be a med student, and then I was like, wow, all that residency and stuff. I have a lot of respect for you, because it takes a lot of dedication to be a med student. Seriously, it's not. I mean, not easy. Yeah, no, I get it. I understand probably why. But here's the thing about med school is, like, once you do that and once you actually go through it, are a lot of things you can do as a doctor, right? I mean, like, you can apply medical science to a lot of stuff. So it's really versatile. You don't necessarily need to go into private practice, right? Yeah, I mean, you could go into research, of course. You might need a PhD for that or something, but you don't need to. Honestly, nowadays, if you want to get involved with, like, a research project or something else, you don't necessarily need credentials. You need to have some project that you've done to prove that you can actually work on the research. So case in point, like, well, I didn't have any credentials when I published my first book. in value theory. I had 0 credentials, but it got published with an academic publisher, like with an real academic publisher. So that was a project that I could show to people who I wanted to get involved with their projects. It was something that I could show, hey, I've done this. I actually like am peer reviewed. Like you can, you do all this stuff without necessarily, you know, all this other stuff. So Kurt, yeah, the only reason I went to med school is because my dad was a doctor. Yeah, I get it. Like, but it's not the end. It's not the end of the story. There are a lot of things you can do with a med degree. So, but eventually, yes, find your true passion. Find what you're really interested about. Yeah. A good question for everyone. You have a really good question, Kurt. Feel free to answer that while I'm talking about the next book here. And no, go away. My dog is bothering me. Go away, please, go away. Yeah, because what's gonna happen is she's gonna keep pawing at me until I play with her. But anyway, she's a poodle, right? Lots of energy. But I will walk her after this. So this book is a great I think really gonna be a great read. I have not read it yet, but this guy talks about, he's actually a scientist. I think a biologist, I have to double check, but and a philosopher. And in this book, he talks about scientific models. And there's a lot to be said about, like, what is a model? There's this whole question. What is the model, right? Science uses models to explain reality, right? And explain not even reality. And that is really the big question. Does science explain reality, or does it explain an aspect of reality in terms of making predictions? A very conservative view of science would be that science explains, helps us make predictions, which is wildly useful. I mean, incredibly useful, right? In terms of reality, that's the big question. What is reality? What is the foundational, like, what do we, when we use the word real, like real versus not real, right? Is math real, or is it not real? Is logic real, or is it not real, right? Or are these human constructs? Well, then, if math is a human construct, and if logic is just a human construct, then it actually may lead to some paradoxes and absurdities too. And so, what are these things? I mean, so these are fundamental questions, and apparently he digs into a lot of these questions. I'm actually about to reread a book on philosophy of language once again, that is related to this. And so this I read a long time ago. I mean, this is a long time ago. If you know it, you know it. He's famous. This is Wittgenstein, the famous philosopher Wittgenstein. He was actually responding to the other famous philosopher, Immanuel Kant. And this is his Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus, right? But yeah, some kind words to each other in the chat here. That's awesome. Great stuff, guys. I love how you're encouraging each other. So I love to see that. And if you ever needed some encouragement, listen, I've been through a lot of my own stuff, like career changes and thinking I wanted to do one thing and then failing at it and doing another thing, and like being through these transitions. I've been there, done that. So I feel like I have some perspective on this, but feel free to reach out if you need some support. But yeah, Wittgenstein is one philosopher who is incredible, an incredible philosopher. He talks a lot about the limits of language, very similar to maybe what's going to be in here. I have yet to read it, but when we do science, when we engage in science, for instance, we have to use models, we have to use terms, we have to use theoretical constructs, right? When we describe these constructs, and even, when we say something is reasonable, when we say something is probabilistic, right? What is the fundamental meaning behind a lot of these terms, right? For the purpose of science, right, which is, as I see the purpose of science, being predictive, we probably don't need to examine that, right? It's probably needless. But in terms of fundamentals, foundations, you probably need to. It's really, really good stuff. So, King Nadish, any books that will help me find a wife? Man, I can't help you there. I can't help you there in terms of books to find a wife. But I would probably say find some good books on communication, right? Because it's all about it's checkbook. Yeah, it's good. Hey, listen. Jokes aside, it is actually important to be financially stable, right? In order to, support a family and I mean, it's not just this selfish thing, right? Like, we should seek financial stability, financial security. It's not this like bad thing. A lot of people want to say it's like bad thing to want to be wealthy or whatever. This is a good thing. This is a good thing. Just don't make your whole life about it, right? That's important. Don't make your whole life about like being wealthy, right? We forget like being wealthy is like for something, right? It's not an end in itself. It's so that you can be comfortable and have peace of mind and be secure, right? And have like a good family life, right? So all of those, yeah, definitely. So books on communication, books on communication. I think what's a good book on communication? I'm thinking of books on communication, but a lot of them are like sales related books. Um, I would look into the love languages. What are the five love languages? I think that's the book. The five love languages. It is actually a good book. Um, See, I think everybody wants security, right? Everybody wants security, right? So money is a form of security. That's true. So anyway, this book is really good for what we were talking about before, unrelated, but what we were talking about before. Also, real quick, I know most people probably are not going to be interested in this, but I'm a total nerd and a total dork. So, modern multidimensional calculus. The one thing I will just say about this real quick is. Um, so matrix multiplication. If you want to learn about AI and you want to actually eventually be a master of AI, like learning AI and understanding AI, right? So modern multidimensional calculus is important, and for statistics, calculus is important too. But specifically, what's called partial differentiation, and then also matrix multiplication. So that's all I'll say. If you want to understand AI, how machine learning and AI works, this is really important too. So just understanding some calculus, right? Understanding what's going on, because a lot of machine learning is like a black box. But it's important because I think math is part of our foundation of reality as well. Math is part of the foundation of reality, one aspect of reality, right? And once again, this one, okay, again, because I'm a total nerd, but you guys, like, if you're into behavioral science, this is really important. More and more, there have been like these qualitative theories of how people behave. And again, my field is in value theory, like understanding how value motivates behavior, right? How value motivates behavior. So computational modeling of cognition and behavior. Don't know how many people are interested in this, but it is actually really interesting. Why? Because more and more behavior, the study of behavior and prediction of behavior, like how are people going to behave, is based more and more on these what are called computational models, which you could think of are like formulas, right? You can actually, it turns out, you can actually use a formula and formulas to actually predict how people are going to behave, but, all right, but, big but, right? Has a lot of limitations. Still has a lot of limitations. All right, still has a lot of limitations. So, location dictates outcome. Could partially location does dictate your outcome. It's a variable. So that's actually a good point. It's a variable. But understand it's a variable. It's a variable. There are many variables in terms of our outcome in life, right? Many of them are within our control. Some are not within our control. So in terms of like determining the outcome in our lives, um, you know, one question is like, what are the variables that you can control? Like, identify those strongly, and try to be less dependent on the things you can't control. Right? I think it's easier said than done, but it's important to identify those variables you can't control, right? That you have no control over. Geography, which maybe to some extent you may have control over. I mean, you can decide to move or whatever, but that's very. It's not always that easy as that. Um, but you have less control over, let's say, geography, but and maybe like whatever race or gender or whatever. So the social constraints are, but you may have more control over what skills you can develop, or what you may have control over your mindset. And mindset is influential. It is influential on outcome. You can control things like, whether you make healthy food choices or unhealthy food choices, right? These are examples. You can control what time you wake up in the morning, or how you make your time productive, right? You can control to some extent what you're learning and what you're not, right? And these are all those are all variables you do have a little bit more control over. And so that's what I would say is, all this stuff that I'm studying, right? Don't get me wrong, okay? Don't misinterpret me. When I say like, okay, I love, this computational modeling book and this calculus book, don't get me wrong. Like I am really into results, right? Not just learning. I really endorse, like, don't just sit there, read books, right? Yeah, learning is so important. Learning and like deep knowledge, right? What Aristotle and Socrates and Plato would call philosophia, like love of wisdom, right, is so important. But don't just sit and absorb knowledge and like not use it. Go out and actually use knowledge. One big way you actually learn things is not from books. It's uh, learning through experience. You learn a lot through experience. So, I don't just have an academic background. I actually have run multiple businesses. So, like, I do have this ethos where it's like, don't just don't just sit and be, somebody who thinks about things. Go and do things, and it doesn't have to be business, by the way. I love doing business because I love I love just not having to answer to somebody, right? I'm very, I guess you could say I'm very anti-authoritarian, right? To the extent that I don't even want to have a boss, right? I don't want anybody telling me what to do. I want nobody telling me what to do, how to spend my time, how to spend my money, any of that stuff. And so it drives me all the way to how I live my life as well. So, King, Philippines have lots of women looking for American men. Okay, maybe. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't know anything about that. So maybe you have more knowledge about that than I do. But guys, so yeah, because I'm just a little bit sick today, this is gonna be it for today. But if you want to learn more about my Critical Thinking Academy, you can find that in the About section of my channel. You can look at the description of any video, and also if you want to just reach out and have a conversation, I am happy to do that. Email me, respond in the comments, subscribe. You can find me everywhere, and like just start a conversation with me, because that's why I have this community in the first place. That's why I'm building this channel, is to have some community here of like-minded people who are out there influencing people to be better critical thinkers, love of wisdom, and love of self-mastery. So yeah, actually, that would be a really, really good conversation. Can you discuss with David Shapiro about AI and post-labor society? I actually think that's a very interesting discussion for everyone. Feel free to reach out to me about that, to remind me and tell me what you have in mind, because that's a very, very interesting and actually very relevant, growing discussion that needs to be had. And I may even, let's say, do a video about it, or maybe another live stream about just that topic. But feel free to share more of your thoughts with me, either in the comment below, or you can reach out to me directly. So
Yeah, Eke Homo. So, do you consider yourself as an autodidact? I do. I mean, I do have formal education. Like, I have gotten degrees and all that stuff. But also like just ongoingly, I am an autodidact. Yes, I am an autodidact. So, guys, have a great rest of your day. Enjoy yourselves. Make today the best day. Go influence somebody to empower them to be, better in terms of their self mastery. Focus on yourself being better as well first, and just be your best. Oh, Black Air Force Energy, you got to go back and watch. I'm just finishing up, but you can go back and look at all the stuff that I'm reading. So, yes, RT, the brand, yes, it actually could be the same as. It's not exactly the same, but it's a great way to use your time if you can't read right away. But yeah, so it is influential. Audiobooks are not the best, but uh, yeah, they are pretty good. So, guys, have a great rest of your day. Talk to you soon.